Good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all peoples out there. Happy 2024. This is Jay Funkadelic, the Funkable Operator Podcast, episode 18. We all know that people are just having a blast on the New Year's revolution, and people are just finding out why people are just out of their minds and not giving a shit about life and don't really care about another thing or whatever, so whatever. But the thing is, there's a lot of grown-ups out there that really respect everybody else and really give a shit about a lot of things in life and not really don't care about where y'all go and how y'all do it. What I want to talk about today is somebody broke in my house the other day and the staff got knocked down and the other consumer got knocked down and they had to make a police report. They had to get me a lawyer or something that was like really bothering me about staying in my apartment and not give a fuck about nobody else. There's a lot of shit that's been going on. I didn't feel like going out New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I just took it easy for myself. I was in a rare form the other night. But why the fuck that a lot of rappers that don't respect the Bible, they don't respect the gospel of hip hop, but, a lot of girls be shaking their ass, getting drunk and getting kicked out of clubs and not give a fuck about nobody else but themselves. And they want to fuck around too much and not really give a shit about a lot of things that happen to them or get involved in a situation if they want to fight or do anything stupid or getting their butt kicked over some real stupid nonsense. And there's a lot of frauds out there that don't respect nothing, but there's a lot of shit that's been on my mind that I'm giving hip-hop a break. There's a lot of rock and roll records that I like that I heard back in the past before hip-hop turned 50. And, a lot of rock records are really good. You should start listening to rock and roll because I was feeling the vibe to listen to that stuff. And I was really feeling rock and roll before when I started listening to rap. So rock and roll and rap are like this. You know what I'm saying? Tied together. Remember when Run DMC did a record called King of Rock? Because hip-hop was sampled from rock and roll. And that's how Run DMC got their agenda together when they did Walk This Way with Aerosmith. And there's a lot of shit that's been going on in life about hip-hop and rock and roll. I like to spit some bars over a lot of rock records and, like a lot of rock samples that I want to use to do the elements of hip-hop. The Rise of Funkville 20th anniversary is coming pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And Rise of Funkville 3 will be out in the fall of 2024. Hope y'all fasten your seatbelts and, listen to this banging-ass album what I'm about to do this year. Even if they know events popping up, you know what I'm saying? I know there'll be events coming up in the near future, but there's a lot of shit we got to go through in life that people have to understand that the money can be very tight sometimes and people, want to do some studio time and rap off the hardcore hip-hop shit and really want to get it on and do what they want to do in life and don't give a fuck about nobody else but themselves. Like I said it before, like when I keep it raw. There's a lot of things that are happening to get the parties cracking, and there's a lot of ladies out there that don't respect the Bible. They don't want to hug the guys. They be disrespecting people and not giving a shit about nobody else but them fucking selves. I give a shit about a lot of things, about when people are just being sarcastic. They want to suck their teeth and want to get away with a lot of shit. But it ain't right. You know what I'm saying? When hip-hop started in the Bronx, there was funk soul music. But like in the early 80s, I remember when Run DMC sampled a lot of rock records, doing their thing from doing rock box. Run DMC is the king of rock because they were born to be rock and roll rappers. Like a Run DMC sampled a lot of rock and roll. That's why I listen to rock and roll. Because rock and roll is the element from listening to Run DMC and LL Cool J. Because, there was a lot of old school hip hop that was part of rock and roll. Just remember that. Just remember what I'm talking about, like Aerosmith or Ozzy Osbourne or U2 or Def Leppard or John Bon Jovi. You know, like Chuck Berry, like started hip rock and roll, but you know, Kool Herc started hip hop, and there was a lot of funk in the music with the soul and the jazz and all sorts of pop rappers that want to rap nowadays, and they want to like do hip hop with pop in it. You know what I'm saying? But that's them. That ain't me. I don't do pop. I love pop is alright. Pop is cool. Like I bump some Michael Jackson or Lionel Richie or Britney Spears or any other pop legends that want to do a record and they want to make sure that they do it on point. You know what I'm saying? A lot of rock albums were like sampled by hip hop records. You know, there was a lot of rock records that I liked listening to. They used to play guitars, you know, with the bass and the drums, the pianos. You know what I'm saying? Like Aerosmith was doing. We all know that Aerosmith was doing a hip hop record with Run DMC and other situations. Like when Run DMC came out with Rockbox on MTV back in the day, doing that Rockbox record, and that's when it all started. But hip hop didn't come from Hollywood. It came from started in the Bronx on 1520 Cedric Avenue. You gotta know your history of listening to rock and roll like Metallica or ZZ Top or any other genre that we all listen to. That could be the most beautiful music you would ever hear. And there's a lot of shit that be popping off with listening to rock music and getting used to playing guitars. Like Salt-N-Pepa was rock also. When they did I Gotcha, and they did a few rock records, Salt-N-Pepa. I remember they did the Twist and Shout, like the oldies that they sampled, you know, like Shaking a Baby now. You know, like Twist and Shout record was the dopest record I've heard from Salt-N-Pepa. There was a lot of rock records I like listening to, like Body Count with Ice-T, because he was rock and roll Ice-T. And there was a lot of funk with the rock and roll that people sample and do their thing and just like play the guitar instrument and get it popping. Just like listening to Kiss. You know what I'm saying? Because Gene Simmons like scared the shit out of me when I was like a young guy. You know what I'm saying? I was afraid of Gene Simmons because that makeup he was wearing. Sorry I said that, but the makeup, not the makeup, the makeup that I was talking about with Gene Simmons, and you know, the way he was representing himself to be a rock star and getting his shit on from the ground up, you know? Just like the other rock groups, you know, Tupac liked it rock. A lot of rappers that were out today liked it rock music. Because a lot of raps like rock and roll, like the Rock Hall of Fame was on last night, but I didn't watch it. But I'm going to get a recap to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even if no Missy Elliott was in there and DJ Kool Herc, which is a big thing because he represented the hip-hop culture. And there's a lot of rock records that I like listening to. Like Kool Herc was rock also because he sampled rock. A lot of rappers sampled rock. Not just funk soul music, but a lot of rock records came from using hip-hop beats and rhyming off to them shits. I rap off rock records. Rock records are most popular to rap off to. Like I did that record Catfight on the football field. You know, rhyming to that rock record, like it was so like phenomenal to listen to, because I sample a lot of rock records. I sampled a lot of good shit in life. A lot of rappers like rock. Even Cypress Hill was rock. You know what I'm saying? You listen to like House of Pain was rock also. A lot of rappers liked it rock and roll music, not just funk and soul beats. Because rock and roll was was most popular than hearing a heavy metal band and with the drums and the bass and the guitars playing from the music instruments that we all listen to in life. So you gotta respect rock and roll. A lot of rock and roll was sampled by hip hop music. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of rock rolls that were sampled by rap and stuff, like when Run DMC came out with the rock records. Remember like back in the 80s and the 70s when rock was real and they played all the good shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a Def Leppard and all those dudes. And Ozzy Osbourne was one of my main men's and stuff. Do you remember anybody in rock that you listened to? What was your favorite rock hip record? Not just a hip hop record, but I'm talking about a rock and roll record. You know, like Bruce Springsteen or Billy Joel or anybody you listen to. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that you like listen to with rock and roll. You know, wrestling was rock and roll. So was other shit that we all listen to was rock and roll. You know, from the good old days. That people used to play the guitars and playing all the instruments when you're live in a heavy metal band, and you jump up in the air and get the crowd jumping down up and down like a fucking seesaw. You know how shit could be in life. Rock and roll is most important than listening to hip hop music. I just found out about it for my New Year's Revolution. There's a lot of rock and roll records I like listening to that's part of hip hop music. And we gotta represent the whole culture. A genre could be a rock record to a hip hop record, you know? Just like when Vanilla Ice did the Ice Ice Baby as a rock version to that. So, like the Give It Away Now record was performed by Vanilla Ice. You know, Kid Rock was one of my favorites. You had Limp Bizkit doing rock. You had a lot of MCs rhyming off the rock records. You know what I'm saying? And they like the heavy metal band and they want to do their own thing, like all the people that represent rock. Just like the people you hear like Metallica or you know, Guns N' Roses, for example. Guns N' Roses did that record, Welcome to the Jungle. I remember that. Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle. That was one of my favorite rock records. You know, hip hop from rock was sampled from doing a good beats. Like LL did that hip hop song called Go Co-Creator Go. That was a rock hip hop record that I like listening to. Go Co-Creator Go. That was a good hip hop record that LL ever did. Even Rock the Bells was dope. You know, like a lot, like some of the rappers that come out with good shit. You know, Ice-T came out with a hip hop song called "This Girl Tried to Kill Me." You know what I'm saying? That was a rock hip hop record, and it was really funky enough that the old school represented hip hop from rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? Rock and roll is part of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand, rock and roll was part of hip hop. Just remember what the fuck I'm saying. And there's a lot of shit that y'all listening to that got a lot of good rhythm with the guitars and rocking the mic. You know what I'm saying? Like you rock the mic and you know you want to listen to you know, I love rock and roll. You know, like some of the other artists that we listen to, but I can't really remember. There's a lot of rock stars that came out and got record deals because they were doing rock and roll music. And I was feeling the vibe to all the shit that I've been hearing since day one, you know? How y'all remember going to a U2 concert? I remember Kiss performed at Madison Square Garden. I remember when, you know, Billy Joel performed. And there's a lot of rock and roll shit that people sample from rock and hip hop records that makes the beat sound sampling, and it's all good for that type of reason. Y'all know what I'm talking about rock and roll. That Hulk Hogan was playing the drums. You know, like listen to the NWO, the New World Order was rock and roll. You know, when Hulk Hogan came out with his theme song when he used to be in WCW. And I remember those times. I remember when wrestling and hip hop and rock and roll could be a good genre to listen to all this type of good shit. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of funky music that we jammed to that was so banging. Just like listening to Public Enemy. They were rock and hip hop. Remember Public Enemy, they did records with Anthrax. I remember the time they did the Bring the Noise rock record. Because on Public Enemy is rock and roll. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five is rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? They did a lot of good hip hop songs that blend with rock and roll. You know, understand what I'm talking about. Understand the facts of the hip hop culture is every genre you sample from any type of genre is really into hip hop, and you rock the mic, and you rock the guitars, and you do your own thing. But I want to do something different off my new album called The Rise of Funkville 20th Anniversary. It's going to be a remix edition, but it's going to have rock and roll samples. I was decided to do rock and roll samples from doing The Rise of Funkville 20th Anniversary. You know what I'm saying? Making a rock and roll remix album, like the expanded rock and roll heavy metal type of genre that I listen to, like listen to the Ghetto Guard or Rock Hard on the Boulevard. Those are the records that I did back 20 years ago, and they sounded really funky enough to do on like on a good beat when it was soul funk music. But rock and roll is what I'm going to sample, probably like in March when I come out with this new hip hop segment that I want to really get done, and just try to make sure that I just play rock and roll all the time, even if I'm rapping on the mic. And that's how I want to do it, and not give a fuck about nobody else, and try to keep real to my own self and do my own thing. Don't let nobody tell you what you can't do, because that's not fucking right. You gotta make people believe in what you do. You gotta understand what you're fucking made of. You can't let people fuck around and say whatever the fuck they gotta say in life. There's a lot of shit that be popping off in this world, that they listen to rock and roll, they listen to hip hop, they drive people crazy, they do some stupid shit, they get arrested, they get locked up for murder, they do life in prison. They want to just listen to rock and roll, and it fucking seize their head up, and they want to choke you to death and go to jail. And they can't listen to no more music. And that's a fact from that. So, you got to take better medication, better health for yourself, and not give a fuck about nothing. But nowadays, I turn off Hot 97. Hot 97 is a garbage station. I don't even listen to that nonsense on the radio, because there's a lot of shit that pops off on Hot 97 that I really don't give two shits and three fucks about, however the station could be. Because there's a lot of shit that be popping off and don't give a fuck about anybody that want to do some stupid shit in life, that get away with murder. A lot of people don't respect anything. Believe what I'm fucking talking about. Believe what the fuck I'm saying. And there's a lot of rock and roll records that sampled really for hip-hop music to make a dope-ass banging rap hip-hop album, and doing your own thing, trying to rock the mic and they play it on the airwaves or even on the radio station or whatever. A lot of shit be popping off for the reason that I became J Funkadelic. The funk was with me with rock and all genres. That's how I got my name, J Funkadelic, from way back in the day. Before that, I used to be the J-Man. In the 80s, I was Big J. Because I was Big J, J-Man, J Funkadelic. From forever. You know what I'm saying? I'll be J Funkadelic until the day I'm dead, but I'll be J Funkadelic for eternity. Even people can remember my name in vain and do their own thing, how I represent hip-hop to the fullest, and get my shit together, and not giving a fuck about nobody else in life, but do what you do best, and how you represent. My own podcast, my own show, my own this, my own that, film that, I got it going on, word is born. Because there's a lot of people, they don't respect no music. Some people like Latina, some people like salsa, merengue. I've been listening to that shit, but it's really annoying to listen to some Latin music. Salsa merengue is alright, because that's their genre from Puerto Rican music. You know what I'm saying? A lot of rap, a lot of people listen to music from Africa. They listen from all types of countries. They even play hip hop in New Zealand. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop. When you come from New Zealand, you listen to rap. You coming from your own borough, from your country. How can you listen to hip hop when you're from Tibet, or you're from Turkey, or you're from Washington D.C.? Like you're headed to the president. You want to rap to Joe Biden. You want to rap to the president of the United States, and make sure you're right with it. I remember like Fat Joe went to the White House, and he met that lady, Kamala Harris, whatever the fuck you call her. Meeting the president, meeting the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris. And I know her for a fact that she was, older than me. I understand she's like a mother to me. she represents her own shit to the fullest, being a vice president of the United States. So remember, a lot of rock stars sampled hip hop records to rhyme off the rock beats, because a lot of people like rock, a lot of people like pop music, a lot of people like all genres. I don't like just hip hop. I listen to other music. I like R&B. I like classic R&B. I like classic hip hop, and I like classic rock. You know what I'm saying? That was part of my era growing up in the hood. So I don't care what borough you're from. I don't give a fuck if you're in Brooklyn, Manhattan. I don't give a fuck where you're overseas. But rock is a type of music that was down with hip hop. Rock is down with hip hop. Listen to rappers like Limp Bizkit or Kid Rock or Run DMC or Cypress Hill or anybody else in the world that we all listen to in our times. But I know that KRS-One sampled hip hop when he did I Got a Dope Beat. You Got a Dope Beat. I remember that one. And I remember when there was a lot of rock records that a lot of female rappers used to rap off the rock records. You know what I'm saying? Schoolie D rocked off the rock records. But I remember he did that record called No More Rock and Roll. But I didn't pay no mind to that. Rock is part of hip hop. Remember what I'm talking about. Remember what the fuck I'm saying. And how you rep your own genre to the fucking fullest. And make sure it sounds good. And make sure it sounds proper. And make sure it does the way you love the type of music we all listen to. And not give a fuck about anybody that want to fucking cause problems and start riots or start chaos or anything else in this bitch. So you know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know how people, do their own thing and make sure everything is all proper from the ground up. We all got to understand, music is music. You know what I'm saying? We like watching movies. We hear rock and roll stuff from movies and, from books and stuff. But, there's a lot of television with hip hop. Just like listen to like country, like Dolly Parton or anybody else in this genre. And I'm feeling rock stars like Ozzy Osbourne. I like Iron Maiden. I like listening to John Bon Jovi. I'm feeling Guns N' Roses. There ain't nothing wrong listening to rock and roll. If I want to listen to rock and roll, I listen to rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me what music because hip hop can't be stuck to me forever. There's other things besides listening to hip hop music. Rock and roll is one of the genres I've been listening to before. But like I used to play hip hop more than rock and roll, because rock and roll is one of the funkiest musics than listening to hip hop music. I started to want to listen to rock and roll because rock and roll got some good guitar bass beats that we all want to play. You know what I'm saying? Like a real instrument. Remember what the fuck I'm talking about, like the Herculoids or anybody that you all listen to, like any other genre we all enjoy and love for the whole entire culture. Rock is part of the culture of the genre. Hip hop is definitely from the culture. A lot of genres from music is part of the culture. Like listen to Calypso or House or other shit that you all go through. Like House was sampled from hip hop too. Remember when that record Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion did that record? There's some hoes in this house. They chopped and screwed the House record, and they did they did that song. And the video was good. They had the Kardashian sister in that video, and I remember watching that shit when Cardi B and Megan was doing their own thing in the video, like saying all this type of stuff about shaking their asses and squeezing their titties and all that type of shit that girls like to shake their rumps and coming around the streets half naked in the summertime, not being properly dressed or whatsoever, that all these ladies walk half naked and the guys be getting infatuated, and there's a lot of shit that be jumping off in life, and there's people They'll be walking around back and forth, looking at ladies up and down, back and forth, high and low, and up and down, and all over the joint. And you got to remember, the hip hop segment is part of rock and roll and all other genres. Like when Big Pun sampled Latino records, like Spanish music, that Big Pun sample to do that record 100%. You know what I'm saying? It had the Latin merengue salsa inside that record when Big Pun did 100%. And he sampled like the OJs. I remember when Big Pun did the original version, the I'm Not a Player, when he sampled the OJs, and the video came out good. Just like watching a Scarface movie clip. That's how hip hop was like the foundation from R&B and rock and pop and country and all those types of music that we all listened to in our early days. You know what I'm saying? Like Bubba Sparxxx sampled some country music and he put it to hip hop music just to do that song called Ugly. When I remember when Timbaland had a loop the sample with Bubba Sparxxx and Missy Elliott doing that record, Ugly. I remember that. There was a back and forth situation when the beat went dun 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 dun. You'll hear that shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? You listen to it even if you had it on a record. I got a lot of vinyl records. I even got Madonna on vinyl. You know what I'm saying? I have it upstairs in my dungeon, in my own house, when I'll have my bed and my cassettes. I don't even want to use things for a computer. I could have a record player and play some real shit and just play the songs on a record player. I don't have to play anything on a phone, even if I want to. You know what I'm saying? The phone is a phone. A record player is a record player. A cassette tape deck is a cassette tape deck. And a CD is like a compact disc. You put the CD in, and then you play some shit on there. You could even burn CDs and just, put the music on there. You know how to burn CDs if you need how to burn CDs on a MacBook Air. Maybe I can show you the reason why you got to buy a CD drive device. You plug it in the MacBook Air, and then you burn the music to the disc. And it comes out really good. You know what I'm saying? It's not even really like a bootleg copy, but it's an official copy. The CD you burn to play the good music. Well, that's all for now. I'm Jay Funkadelic, the Funkable Operator Podcast, episode 18. I'll see y'all next time. Jay Funkadelic, Funkable Operator. Once again, I will kill it, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.